Okay, in the last class we were doing some numericals. So in that numerical, what we had is equal is piston cylinder arrangement with 25. Please mute yourself. Who is that? Please mute yourself. 25 grams of saturated water vapor. Uh, who is this? Kush Patel. Kush Patel, please mute yourself. Or I have to mute you. Okay. And this piston cylinder arrangement is being heated through a is being the energy is being transferred through electrical energy by 0.2 ampere current for 5 minutes with 120 volts, and heat loss is also there. And we have already shown that your enthalpy can be written as a sum of internal energy and your flow work, that is PV. And now we need to determine the final temperature of the steam. So this, let's suppose this is my system and this is my dotted line is my control volume or my system, where I want to be I want the things to be interested in. This electrical wiring is providing me W in, and some Q out is happening. The Q out is 3.7 kilojoules. So have you guys tried this thing at your home? The pressure, constant pressure was 300 kilopascal. Fine. So we can apply directly the formula we have calculated. What we have? So W electrical in minus Q out is equal to delta capital H, the total enthalpy. And this W electrical we can actually separately we can calculate is V voltage current times the time VIT, and this 120 times 0.2 times 300 seconds, because it was, I think it was 12 minutes. No, it was around 5 minutes. Okay, so 300 seconds. So it comes around 7.2 kilojoules. So here 7.2 kilojoules minus 3.7 kilojoule, that is what it is coming out. This will become the change in its enthalpy, the whole system. The whole system enthalpy can be calculated by multiplying with the mass and the change in enthalpy in mass basis. So H2 minus H1. Okay, now H1 is the initial enthalpy of the system currently at T is equal to, let's suppose, 0. At some T is equal to some process is happening, and at state 2. So let's suppose this is my vapor dome. This is my pressure versus volume plot, and at 3 sorry at 300 kilopascal my state was here at superheated state. Super, it was given that it was a saturated vapor. It was given explicitly in the question. So it was somewhere here, it was at 1, and it is being heated with constant pressure. So at constant pressure it goes from here to here at state 2. So we need to find the enthalpies. So H1 we can calculate, and H2 we need to find. So H1 we can calculate from where? From table. Okay. So at pressure 300 kilopascal, as saturated vapor, what is my H1? So H1, if you go to the table, you will find that H1 comes out to be at 300 kilopascal. It would constitute around 2724.9 kilojoule per kg. This is what the enthalpy you will get from your table. So can we go quickly, or we have, or you can check? Somebody will check and tell me now. Is it correct or not? Anybody there? No?
Yes, sir, it's correct.
Okay, thank you. Then next thing is, let's suppose we have reached at state 2. We need to find H2. Okay, so from this equation we can actually find H2. Mass is also given probably. So mass was of the vapor was given 0.025, sorry, 0.25 kgs. So we can substitute it here. H1 we can substitute it here, and all these things are given. So H2 we can come up with 2864.9 kilojoule per kg. This is simple. Now once you have H2, so what we need to check? So H2 we have come across, and P already given. Two states are given. Two intensive properties are given: enthalpy and pressure. So we can the state has been fixed. It means with the help of table again, you go to pressure 300 kilopascal, and H2 you just find it in the table, this much, 2864.9, and you will see from these two data you'll reach at T2 is equal to 200 degrees C around. You'll go to the data and you'll find it. This is simple. So these kind of questions you may expect in your examinations. These are simple questions, and these kind of questions you should also expect in your GATE examination and other competitive examination, in your interviews, written interviews, or so these are small questions you may expect. Okay. Now, as I told, I will. Any question? No. I will start with the specific heat. This is the next topic we are going to study, specific heat. So the definition of specific heat is defined as the energy required to raise the temperature of a unit mass of substance by 1 degree. Let's suppose I have a container in which mass of, let's suppose, helium gas is given. 1 kg helium is there. So what I see, to increase its temperature by 1 degree, it needs 3.12 kilojoules amount of heat to be inputted in the system. So this 3.12 will, as a quantity wise, will become its specific heat. Okay, so 3.1 kilojoule is given to one unity mass substance to increase its 1 degree C, and this is what it is called the specific heat. And the specific heat are basically divided into two classes: specific heat at constant volume, that just now I have talked about if you have a rigid container, and next specific heat can be thought of as constant pressure specific heat. Generally, it is denoted as C, but at constant volume, it is denoted as CV, and for constant pressure, it is given as constant CP. And these are its units. So at constant pressure, if you want to see here, the same helium gas at constant pressure, it means your container is not fixed. The you are allowed to expand so that your pressure remains constant all the time. Volume may increase, mass is still same. Temperature we need to increase 1 degree. Now it has been seen that it needs 5.19 kilojoules of energy to increase its temperature 1 degree of this substance. So now you can see that Cp is always greater than Cv. So what could be the reason? Can somebody comment on that quickly? Anybody? Or nobody is listening today?
Yes.
So comment. Can you
We
comment
have
it?
the relation that delta H is equal to ohm.
नहीं ओम के अलावा ओम और
Exactly, don't remember the relation.
नो अच्छा ध्रुविल खंडाला कैन यू कमेंट ऑन दिस नो ध्रुव लाठिया nobody is there Deepan Dholakia I want to hear that because might seem intuitive but you need to explain me because this is crucial that is why I'm asking Gaurav Jain no
Yes,
am I
sir. Yes, sir.
connected
Yes, sir.
Gaurav Jain so can you comment on that why the Cp of any substance should be greater
Sir,
than
Cp
Cv
Sir, heat capacity at Cp is greater than capacity at constant volume. Because when heat is added at constant pressure, the suspend expands and work.
Yes, thank you. So basically, your system is also doing some boundary work. So you need extra energy. You need actually first to increase its 1 degree temperature, and you need actually extra energy to push the piston or the boundary work. So that is why you need total amount. You need higher amount of energy to if you have constant pressure process because boundary work is happening in addition to the increase in its internal energy or some increase in its total energy of the system. Okay, so it has to this heat has to be gone through two phases, like one has to increase its internal energy and one need to push the boundary work. So that is why Cp is greater than Cv, and there is one relation that Cp plus Cp is equal to or Cp minus Cv.
Cv plus R.
Cp minus Cv is equal to R. So there also we can see, I mean in later slides we can see. So here it is also obvious that Cp is higher than Cv because R is your gas constant. So this is a positive number. So Cp should be higher than. So that relation also tells you that Cp would be higher for any substance. So these kinds of question also you may expect in your interviews. These are quick questions, but you should know why now. Okay. So next thing is what is the value of Cv or Cp? So in order to relate the Cp or Cv in terms of your thermodynamic quantities, we have, let's suppose I am taking this system, this particular system. So the internal energy of the system is being increased by change in whatever the energy it is inputting and what is the energy it is the energy that is going out. So the going out energy is 0. Okay, inputting energy what I am giving is here is what is input energy, that is CV dt, isn't it? Or mCV dt, net energy, that is I'm inputting m times CV dt. So m is unity, so let's suppose m is 1, and now CV dt I can write. So your du is equal to CV dt, you can write, and so thus CV can be written as du by dt, and this has been done at constant volume, and then only you can write. Okay. Okay, the partial sign here, sorry, this partial sign over here, it means that you may have other dependence also, but right now we are considering only T dependence. Okay, so you can write this way. Similarly, for CP, we can again write delta E in minus delta E out is equal to du again. But here, so let's suppose out nothing is coming out, but in is your internal energy. Sorry, is so right now the piston work is happening. So what you will tell? So basically, it is okay. I can actually write du. So this thing plus pdv is happening, and some now it is called cpdt is equal to du. Cpdt is equal to du, or maybe since system is doing work, or maybe some maybe I need to check actually, maybe the sign over here. So this du plus pdv, and then this can be cumulatively written as dh, and now you can write cp is equal to dh by dt in similar fashion at constant pressure. So this is your relation between cp and the thermodynamic quantity. This is how you will tell from, right? Okay, next. Probably my internet. One second. Okay. The next point I want to make here is what is happening.
Sir, you can try from mobile phone.
Mobile phone, but I
Because
cannot
in
write it.
that,
I can.
yes.
You guys are listening something?
No, sir.
Oh wait, I have some narrator that has opened. I need to close this. Okay, narrator has opened. I don't know why. Okay. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the dependence of these specific heat quantities, CV and CP, on temperatures. So it has been seen through experiments that these CP and CV quantities are actually dependent on temperature, are function of generally are a function of temperatures as well. But in most of the cases, for inert gases, it seems to be constant, but for diatomic and H2O2 and other polyatomic molecules, it may have some sort of functions. It may have some functions. But so in general, you can tell that this Cp must be a function of temperature. So it is written over here also. It has been shown by some experiments that air 1 kilogram of air took 0.78 kilojoules to increase its temperature from 300 to 301 Kelvin, whereas the same air took 0.8, the more energy when it was at 1000 Kelvin, and to move it to 1001 Kelvin. So it has been seen that it is some function of temperature as well, Cp and Cv. And we should keep in mind that also. So it's not a constant for all air and everywhere. It depends upon temperature. This is the key thing I want to talk about in this slide. Okay, in this slide, now we should talk about the internal energy, enthalpy, and specific heat of ideal gases. So exclusively for ideal gases, we will talk about in this particular slide. So it was seen from the experiment. Actually, this Joule, he did an experiment, and what he did in, I think, in 1700 or 1800, he made this kind of arrangement. He took a flask filled with air, tightly packed with high pressure, and it has been connected with an empty flask which is evacuated, 0 pressure, and this is in the bath of water, totally submerged in water. And to keep a track of water temperature, he inserted a thermometer here, and then he slowly opened the valve, and then the expansion process happened, and the pressure, the gas escapes. Tell me, something happening?
Means pressure will decrease when the valve is open.
But that is fine. That is fine. But what was the aim of the experiment? He saw no temperature change. Wait a second. No temperature change in water. So in this process, there was no heat interaction of of any sort. So the temperature remains constant. It means, so what does it mean? So the internal energy didn't change. Through volume change or pressure change. Okay, so what he concluded, that the internal energy as function of temperatures only. That is what concluded in his experiment. And since this was the gas included here was an ideal gas, so we can actually think of in this way also, RT. So since internal energy was only function of temperature, so can we somehow tell something about the enthalpy? Yes, we can actually think about enthalpy. So enthalpy can be written as H is equal to U plus PV, and this PV is substituted here. So H is equal to U plus RT. So this is a function of temperature only, and this is constant, and this is again temperature. So it has been seen that H is again a function of temperature only. So this is what it is written here. So these are two strong statements that were made. So internal energy is also only function of temperature. Enthalpy is also a function of temperature only. And in the previous slide, we have seen that Cp and Cvs are also function of temperatures only. And this is uh, valid for ideal gases only. Then only we would apply this. So now the previous formula that we have written, that du is equal to Cv dt, can actually be written in this form. Du is equal to Cv as a function of temperature times dt, and dH Cp dt, where Cp is again a function of temperature only. Okay. In general, when you want to calculate, let's suppose, in generally, if you want to calculate, let's suppose du is equal to Cvt dt. If you want to calculate the internal energies at two states, so what you can do, you can integrate both sides from 1 to 2, 1 to 2. So this is nothing but u2 minus u1, or you can tell change in internal energy. You can write Cvt dt 1 to 2. This should be your proper formula to calculate the change in internal energies, and change in enthalpy can similar fashion can be written in terms of Cp as a function of T dt 1 to 2. In your table, there are several formulas to estimate this through table, and it should look something like Cvt is equal to some a plus bt plus ct square or something dot dot dot. Some sort of polynomial formula is there, and where a and b, c are appropriate constants, you can actually estimate for particular substance. You can actually estimate your Cv as a function of t, and then you can actually calculate it in function wise. But in general, we will not go by this methodology, because without loss of error, technical error, we can actually, what we can do, we can do is we can actually estimate Cvt temperature ranges. It doesn't change much, but we this as a Cv average. It was seen that it was not that much changing. So often it was written as an average quantity, and this is also will be given in your tables, or it will be given. So now with this average quantity, I can actually write delta U is equal to U2 minus U1 is equal to Cv average T2 minus T1 if you integrate it here. So this is the powerful formula you can actually use every now and then. Cp average T2 minus T1 from now onwards. Although this integration formula would be much accurate thing, but there are errors less than 2%. So we can actually by doing using this formula, people have seen that it has given it gives no such large errors. Okay. Okay, this I have already told that there is a relation between Cp and Cv. So where does this come from? So this is easy to deduce that. So we have H is equal to U plus PV. We can write, and since I'm talking about the ideal gases, so this is only valid for ideal gases, not for real gases. So for ideal gases, I can write PV as RT. So this is small u, Hana. So before that, what we can do, we can differentiate this quantity, and we can write differentiate. So dH, differential equation can be written as dH is equal to du plus dPV. And for ideal gas, this can be written du plus, so PV is equal to RT, sorry, this RT, and this is constant, so dPV can be written as RDT. So I can write RDT, right? And now this H is can be written as CPDT, and this U can be written as CVDT plus RDT. And now dt can be cancelled, so Cp is equal to Cv plus R. So this formula we come from actually the enthalpy relation, enthalpy and ideal gas relations. Nothing new here. And units are in kilojoule per kg and Kelvin. Another quantity of interest in thermodynamic analysis are gamma, which is the ratio of Cp over Cv. This is also a strong quantity to be aware of. So this is called specific heat ratio. Also gamma, sometimes it is also denoted by K, small k also, Cp by Cv. Okay. Okay, quickly we will go through one quick example to get a feel of what or what we can do. We can actually close this chapter quickly, and we can come up with the numericals once again. So here I have talked about the internal energy, enthalpy, and the specific heat ratios of the ideal gases. Now I'll talk about the. I'll come to the numericals after I finish this. Internal energy, enthalpy, and specific heat of solids and liquids. Those solids and liquids, the property of solids and liquids are such that it is actually incompressible substances. What does it mean? So with application of pressure, any pressure, the volume change is so small as compared to the gases. Okay, so solids and liquids are often associated with negligible volume changes. What does it mean? So if the volume change is not there, then Cp and Cp would have no meaning, would have no different meanings. It would be actually, we would be talking about the same thing. Okay, that is we call it with C. And now for solids, the change in internal energy in solids can be quickly written as in the similar fashion as C average T2 minus T1, and enthalpy changes can be written as delta U plus VdP, because here this is an extra term. The actual term would be, so dH is equal to du plus dPV. This is what your differential equation would look like. This you can write plus small u plus P delta V plus V delta P. Okay. So now I've already told that the volume change is negligible for solids. So this term goes away. The only left term we are left with the change in pressure. Yeah, with you are actually applying pressure. So it is nothing that pressure is not there. Pressure is there. So change in pressure is there. So you should incorporate the change in pressure, but the volume change accordingly will not be there for solids and gases, solids and liquids. So VdP term will be there, and now this would tell you this expression. We will see the some examples, maybe in numerical, or as an application. You can find these in heaters. Constant pressure process is happening. for liquids, change in dP is 0. For there, the change in enthalpy you can calculate this way, and in pumps where the constant temperature process is happening, you can actually use this relation, since your temperature is change in temperature is 0. So we will see it quickly in numericals in few other times. So let me take this particular example, this question, and you guys also relatively with me. An insulated rigid tank initially contains 0.7 kilograms of helium at 27 degrees C at 350 kilopascal. A paddled wheel with power rating of itna is operated within the tank for 30 minutes. Determine the final temperature. Who will do that? Let's suppose I have a paddled wheel which is rotating, and 0.7 kg, 27 degrees C, 350 kilopascal, and it is being rotated. So work in is happening. So we need to calculate T2 is equal to what? So it will have some temperature T1. So how to take this question? How to take up this question? Again, first law of thermodynamics, right? So energy in. So this is my system. You should choose the system first in every question. So system 1, we are what is applying? We are work in is happening. There are no heat interactions. So what is your first law? E in minus E out is equal to change in energy of the system. So since this is a stationary system, so this is nothing but the change in internal energy of the system. So E out is nothing. E in, what is happening? So E in is the work in by paddle, and which will give you the change in internal energy of the system. And what is that? Net change in internal energy is the mass. Sorry. Mass times U2 minus U1. Small U2 minus U1. Yes. This relation quickly. So what is this? This is nothing but W shaft. What is happening here? Times the time. Mass is given 0.7. U2 minus U1 we need to see from where? So U2 we don't know. So U1 we can see from table at pressure. So this is helium, no? Okay. So helium table we need to see. So at this pressure, you need to. So this is 350 kilopascal. So helium will have some CV values at pressure 350 kilopascal. You should keep, and this temperature T is equal to 27 degrees C. So you go to the table, you'll see the CV value of helium. So U is equal to CV average T2 minus T1. So C average you will get from the table. T1 is given. T2 we don't know. This given, everything is given. Or this you find it in table. T2 will get. T2 is equal to 39.4 degrees C. It will come. Next question is final pressure of the helium. How to calculate the pressure of the helium? Quickly, who will tell? There are some chats. Okay, nobody? 46. Okay, I'll take 5 more minutes and I will finish this example also. Probably. Okay, this example. This example is obvious. Okay, I'll go through it quickly by just in 2 minutes. So 50 kgs of iron block. So this is the solid specific heat problem. Is at 80 degrees is dropped into the insulated tank that contains 0.5 this much at 25 degrees C. Determine the temperature of the when thermal equilibrium is achieved. So this is my iron block. It has some temperature, some mass, some specific heat, C value, and water will have some C value, some, and some mass is there. So what we can actually, the whole, okay, so whatever thing is happening from here to here, some heat will go from here to here, so heat interaction is there. But since your system is the whole, so the change in energy is, what would be the change? So E in minus E out. Okay, so if anything is coming out from in and out is happening from here, no. So there is no in, there is no out. So the change in internal energy of the whole system would be 0. That is my starting point. So what is my change in internal energy? So whatever this thing has given up, it has taken up, right, as an, so delta U, since this is a stationary system, so delta U system is equal to 0. Now delta U can be written as delta U iron plus delta U water. These types of question you might have done in your 12th also. What is change in internal energy in iron? So MC delta T iron, and what is this? MC delta T water, right? So this is M of iron, C of iron, M of water, C of water is equal to 0. So this relation you need to check. Let's suppose the final temperature is T equilibrium. So you can write M1 C1 T equilibrium minus T1 plus M2 C2. What is its final temperature? Let's suppose T equilibrium again minus T2 is equal to 0. So this you will relate, and everything is given, and you will be able to find the T equilibrium. This, so all these questions are based on first law of thermodynamics only. Nothing new here, right? Everywhere energy should be constant. Okay, this is one interesting question, just to make you guys more not feeling sleepy. So if you have ever slapped someone or got slapped yourself, you probably remember the burning sensation. So let's see, suppose this man is having burning sensation on his cheeks. Imagine you are had an unfortunate occasion of being slapped by an angry person, which cause the temperature of the affected area of your face to rise 1.8 degrees C. Assuming the slapping had a mass of 1.2 kgs, about itna kgs of tissue on the face, and hand is affected by the incident, estimate the velocity of the hand just before the impact. Take the specific heat of the tissue is this. So how would you come across this? Let's suppose I have a hand and I am slapping it with some velocity. So in this sort of, I will take my system as tissue plus hand as my system as a whole. Okay. So what I will do? I'll tell that the E in minus E out is equal to change in internal energy of system. So this is not stationary system since your hand is moving with some velocity. So this is delta U plus delta kinetic energy of your hand. And this E in and E out, supposedly I will take 0. Okay, so now this is 0. So change in internal energy is nothing but the change in internal energy of the tissue. So M tissue, C tissue, T2 minus T1 plus kinetic energy of the hand is from some velocity, let's suppose some
hello,
velocity.
Hello.
Tell me.
Sir, why that E in and E out is 0?
Because I'm taking my system as a whole.
Slap and shake both.
Whole.
sides.
Nothing is coming out and coming in. Okay. What is happening is interacting between tissue and your hand. That's it. So this or maybe some 1 minute.
Sir, the initial velocity will be 0.
Exactly. So half m v2 square minus 0 square. So this would tell you the final temperature. Is it? Am I doing wrong? This is your hand. This is your hand velocity.
We need to find the velocity, not final temperature. The change in temperature is given.
It's already given. It's already given. This given. This given.
So we will get the impact velocity.
Impact velocity. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. So this you can. So these kind of problems are actually found out by forensic teams. Whenever some crime has happened, so they actually go by these sort of thermodynamic analysis as well. For let's suppose you have a maybe dead body or maybe some injury is there. So this kind of analysis actually has been done by forensic experts. So that is what I wanted to tell you. So this has very broad area of applications for these thermodynamic courses. Okay, so this concludes your chapter 4, and we will actually move into the chapter 5, that is mass and energy analysis of open systems such as turbines, pumps, and all sorts of things. And it would be very important and very crucial for most of your work producing devices and all. So this chapter is actually an important chapter. So you will learn very important things in this chapter. Okay, so okay, let me take the attendance. Okay, yes, we can leave then. Tomorrow we will meet. Let me stop my recording.